Recording.
I'm technically challenged, so.
You are live.
So we're good. Thanks guys for coming today. A lot of you I already know, just from working out. My name is Kathy Falk and I'm a holistic nutritionist, and I work here quite a few of Ray and Amy's clients. And basically what holistic nutrition is getting people to go back to eating the right foods for their body, mostly a diet of whole unprocessed foods. And I work with people depending on what their health issues are, whether they're physical, mental, emotional, and I work with them just to get them back to eating the right things and feeling good. So one of the biggest things I've come across lately with clients that I've worked with is a lot of clients who have mental health disorders, meaning anxiety, depression, ADHD, and they don't know how to overcome those things. So it's been a bit of a passion of mine the last few months, just doing as much reading and listening to as much information and seminars and stuff from doctors on this particular topic. So Ray and I were talking, I thought it would just be an interesting topic for people to, to listen to and hopefully gain a little bit of information from it. Let's see if I can get this right. It'll be good. Okay. So today, these are just an overview. This is a huge topic, so I've tried to narrow it down a little bit and make it really, layman's terms, very simple, so everyone can understand what I'm saying. Today we're going to talk about the role of the gut, the microbiome, the gut-brain axis, symptoms, diseases from an unhealthy gut, and how to improve gut function, which is really what you all want to know in the end, how you can improve that. Okay, so the role of the gut. Your gut basically consists of everything from the time you chew your food all the way through your digestive tract to the time you eliminate your food. So your digestive system, basically, in a nutshell, you break down, assimilates nutrients. It's an intestinal barrier to toxins that you may have come across in your food or environment. Excuse me. It hosts what's called the microbiome or gut bacteria, gut flora. It's all the same thing. Microbiome is just this big fancy word that all the doctors are using right now on that one. It's also a huge center of metabolism for you as well. So if your gut is not functioning properly, your metabolism is very slow. It's also involved, this is the important part today, it's also involved in normal nervous system development. Okay. Sorry, I think I went one back. Sorry. It's skipping. There we go. Okay, ready for that one?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
Recording it great.
See, technically challenged. Sorry, guys. It's not my thing. My kids tell me all the time. So brain problems basically start not actually in your brain, for the most part. This today is we're talking about the connection between that and what you eat. It starts with your poor digestion, meaning poor digestion. Anytime you have stomach pain, gas, bloating, constipation, irritable bowel, that's all symptoms of bad digestion. Your digestive system is just not working as it should. Another symptom brain problems begin with is your gut flora, the gut microbiome. When you don't have enough of the good bacteria in your gut, it causes a whole host of problems in the brain. And by not having those things, poor digestion and the gut flora, you end up with what's called leaky gut. And leaky gut is probably the biggest problem, which is causing your health issues today, is because, and it's mostly caused by the food you're eating, the medications you're taking, even over-the-counter medications, which causes this intestinal permeability in your gut, which means that things that aren't supposed to get into your blood and the rest of your body are getting it. That could be environmental toxins. It can be proteins in food that haven't been digested properly that causes all kinds of inflammation. So when that happens, your body mounts this huge immune system reaction and inflammation in your entire body, and it can cause problems in the brain as well. So the most important thing we'll talk about right now is that gut microbiome, that population of microbes that lives in your body, and most importantly, the biggest population lives in your gut. The question is, where does it come from? So that bacteria actually starts when you're in your mother's stomach. In your utero, it's when it starts. What your mom ate, so this goes way back, what your mother ate and consumed, and her health directly affected what your health was when you're born, and it directly affected that bacteria that good bacteria or bad bacteria that's in your gut. So if your mom took over-the-counter drugs, mean, we're talking like Advil, you know, simple things like that, that all creates inflammation in her body, which then creates inflammation in the baby's body. So I was like, well, how did we get that? Well, the actual process of being born, believe it or not, the actual process of being born naturally, so vaginally, is your biggest factor in what your health is today. So if you were born, if you were born by C-section, and there's, I mean, it happens, it's just one of those things. If you're born by C-section, you actually are going to have a weaker immune system from birth, just from not going through that birth canal and picking up all that good bacteria, that good microbiome. So C-section, being born by C-section, changes your gut flora. The other thing that changed whether you were bottle or breastfed as a baby. That's another huge impact. So breast milk, especially in the first day, the first few months, is essential for creating that good microflora, that good gut bacteria in you. So if you weren't breastfed, which most of us, I know my age weren't, because it just wasn't the thing to do in I'm not going to say the year, but it wasn't the thing to do. Most of us weren't, and a lot of kids now are, but it just wasn't. It's kind of in this trendy thing, but it wasn't that. So a lot of us weren't breastfed. So that again puts us behind for our gut flora and our immune system. The other things too, then. So if you were that, so you had born vaginally, you were breastfed. So what else causes it? Well, just your environment, just the toxins in the environment, food supply, processed foods, antibiotics, chlorinated water, antibacterial soap, chemicals, processed foods, sugar. Those are all things that will directly affect that microbiome in your gut and ultimately the health. So then the question is, well, we have all this stuff in our gut. How does it affect our brain, right? Because you think of your gut, it just affects basically how you go to the bathroom. That's what most people think of, right? And that's but how does it affect the brain? So there's something called the gut-brain axis. And sorry, my slide is off. It's actually, we have 3 nervous systems in our body, but we're going to talk about 2 today. So you have a central nervous system, which is our major one, which is your whole brain spinal cord. There's also something called the enteric nervous system, which is an intrinsic nervous system of the gastrointestinal tract. Both of these nervous systems are actually developed at the same time from the same fetal tissue. The big part here is that these two nervous systems are actually connected by something called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve, and it goes from basically your brainstem to your abdomen. And doctors have always known that your brain can control what's in your stomach. So if suddenly you're in a situation that you're really nervous or excited or whatever, it can cause stomach upset. They've always known that. But what they've researched now, it's actually bidirectional. So what's happening in your stomach actually travels along that nerve and affects what's happening in your brain as well. So it's just it's kind of an interesting turn that they never realized it was bidirectional before. So when you have imbalances then in your gut bacteria, or microbiome in your gut, you can have depression, anxiety, ADHD, ADD, cognitive function, and cravings, and inability to recognize if you're full or not, which most people do. You wonder why you're having these sugar cravings or you've got brain fog. That's part of it. So then we'll talk about depression and anxiety first. I kind of put them together because most people who have depression also have anxiety. So one of the biggest things with depression is your poor control of blood sugar. So when your blood sugar increases, and I'm sure if anyone's ever sat and talked to Ray, he'll tell you all this stuff. When your blood sugar increases really rapidly by eating refined foods, refined sugar, white bread, white rice, any of those processed foods, your blood sugar spikes really, really quickly. When that happens, there's an immediate depletion in your body of the neurotransmitters serotonin, epinephrine, norepinephrine, GABA, and dopamine. So as soon as you eat all those processed foods and your blood sugar spikes, immediately you're going to be deficient in those things. At the same time, the B complex vitamins, which are needed to make neurotransmitters, get used up, and your magnesium levels drop. So already just by eating those foods, you're affecting your brain function. So what you do with that then is making sure that you're eating whole unprocessed foods that aren't going to spike your blood sugar. Now, if you're eating carbohydrates, you can accomplish that by eating protein or fats with your meals as well, as opposed to strictly carbohydrate meal. The other part of depression, which people don't understand, is that serotonin is the big neurotransmitter that's your happy transmitter. That's the one that makes you feel good all the time. 90% of that is actually produced in your gut. It's not produced in your brain, it's actually produced in your gut. So, and it can only be produced if that gut bacteria, that microbiome, is balanced. So if it's not balanced, then you're already going to be behind producing the serotonin. The other part of that too is that, so if this isn't working, you're not producing, your gut bacteria isn't able to produce the nutrients that you need in order to produce serotonin either. And omega-3 is the biggest one. People who are low in serotonin and have this leaky gut, you can take as many omega-3s as you want, but you're not going to absorb them into your system. So that's why it's so important to kind of correct that function first. And most people then take, many of my clients take antidepressants, the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And what that does, basically all that does is any serotonin that you do have in your body, it keeps it in circulation all the time so that you're feeling happy all the time. What it doesn't do, it doesn't go to the root cause of why you're not producing enough serotonin in your body. And the problem with most doctors that you go to, and then they say, oh, you're depressed, here's these antidepressants, they're highly addictive. And it's I would say it's impossible to get off it, but it takes a long time to try and taper off of those. And I listened to a webinar a couple weeks ago with a psychiatrist out of New York City, and she's a holistic psychiatrist, like one of the only ones in North America. And she never recommends this to anybody. She spends years getting people off of these. And her whole premise is trying to get people to eat whole food, like changing your diet first, eating whole foods, getting all your nutrients you need to feed your gut, to feed your brain, and then gets them off the antidepressants. So they are highly addictive. So when people come to me and are like, I want to get off my antidepressants, I'm like, you can, but it's not going to be in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. Like most of them have been on them for 10 years or since their teenage years. And so don't get discouraged if you're on them and you want to get off them. It does take a lot of time. It's a very highly addictive drug. So most people don't understand that. They think they can just quit. Please don't quit your antidepressants. That's what I'll tell people right away. The other part of huge interest is the role that the gut bacteria plays on children with that have ADHD, ADD, even autism in kids. And there's a huge number of kids that have this today, even through, I shouldn't say even kids, people through their adult years. It's not as prevalent, but definitely in kids. And we talked about that. The establishment of that good gut bacteria happens mostly in the first 20 days of a child's life. So by being, the process of being born, the breast milk, and if the child has abnormal gut bacteria at the time, and then suddenly they're vaccinated, then that's going to destroy what they have. There's going to be no normal gut bacteria in there, which then creates massive inflammation in the child's body, which then becomes they're more at risk of having ADHD, ADD. And that's where the connection with the vaccines come in, is that and it's a whole debate. Are they causing, is the vaccines causing the ADHD, or is it because the child already had abnormal gut bacteria and the vaccine has just thrown that kind of in a spiral? So most kids too, or most people who have ADHD or autism as well, because of the abnormal gut bacteria, they're highly susceptible to the effects of processed food. Food coloring is a huge one. So if you have a child who has any kind of hyperactivity disorder, autism, the food dyes, it would be really, really important to keep them off any kind of food that has colorings in it. Of course, that's processed food because you don't find that in natural foods. The big ones are like red 40, yellow number 5 is a huge one, tartrazine. So those are all, you would just generally not to have them. So if your kid's playing a sport and you think it's a good idea to give them Gatorade after your sport, you're exasperating that by giving them those the red Gatorade. So I would definitely suggest you want to do that. The other thing that's really interesting that I was listening to, that's going to kind of gross everyone out, is that these kids who have ADHD and autism, they've actually been able to change their microbiome, their flora, by doing fecal transplants into it. So they literally are taking feces from healthy gut bacteria, implanting them in kids who have these conditions, and noticing a huge improvement in their health. It's something new that they're trying out there, so it's just it's an interesting thing to think about. The other thing, and I'm sure we've all been here, your gut bacteria affects your cognitive function. Brain fog. I don't know if anyone's ever been out there and you wake up in the morning or whatever and you're having a conversation with someone and you're telling me like, I can't remember my kid's name or I can't remember my neighbor's name, like simple things, and it's brain fog. It happens to all of us. I've had it happen and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I remember my sister's name, for gosh sake? And it's really the foggy feeling is coming not specifically from your brain, it's coming from how bad things are in your gut. And there's a doctor I love to follow called Dr. Perlmutter, and he calls it like static on the line. So this is all, if you have all these problems in your gut, you have all this inflammation, it actually releases chemicals into your brain that makes it like really, really foggy. And he compares it to like bandwidth. As soon as you're eating all these bad foods, releases all these inflammatory chemicals, your bandwidth goes down. So you don't get enough, you're not getting enough energy to your brain. So what results, it results in brain fog, which I have a lot of clients who come to me and they're like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I can't remember my kid's name. And it's because of that. Don't get me wrong, it can be cause of other things as well, but generally when we change the diet, the brain fog changes. Then this is a big one too, cravings and recognizing fullness. Why am I craving junk food? Why do I never feel full? This is a huge one for people, they don't understand. So the food you actually put in your stomach, in your gut, can actually directly affect regions in your brain that alter feeding behavior. They can alter how satisfied you are with a meal. The microbes in your gut are able to manipulate us into eating things that they want to eat, and bad bacteria always wants junk food. So the healthier food you get, the healthier your body's going to crave it. They are actually able to, bad microbes, so all this bad stuff that you're getting from food supply, environment, toxins, drugs, can actually manipulate your taste receptors in your brain that sends out rewards, basically sends your body's rewards. And if it's bad, then it's going to send rewards saying that when I eat that chocolate or chips or white sugary things, whatever it is, it's going to actually send a reward to your brain saying this feels great, I love it, and you're going to keep eating it over and over. So it's another case where what you're eating here is directly affecting how you feel. So if you're eating those types of foods, and you know that once you eat one, and I know we all know, I know personally, like if I eat one piece of whatever cookie or whatever, I can't stop eating them because that sends that signal that I feel really, really good eating that sugar, and you're gonna like want to keep eating them. So you get to the point where you're like, it's just not worth it, and it's hard. So beware with Halloween coming up. You can't eat one little candy bar from your kid's supply, because you're just going to end up eating 5. So what you're all here for today then is how to improve your gut function, basically. And I'm doing this in relation just to brain, the gut function in relation to how it affects your brain. But all these things I'm going to tell you can be applied to anything else, whether you have arthritis or inflammation anywhere else, heart disease, cholesterol, all of these things can be applied towards that as well. So the first thing you're going to do is remove, so we're going to talk about removal. So eliminating drugs, and I'm not talking, hardcore drugs, I don't know about those, but everyday drugs that people take, your Advil, like your non-steroid anti-inflammatory drugs, which are really hard. They create that leaky gut, and they also are really hard on your liver. Antacids, the number of people who take antacids every single day, it really affects your whole gut, because what you're doing is alkalizing the only organ in your body that's supposed to be really acidic. And people are taking them every day because they're having heartburn, indigestion, all that. So they're taking antacids, and you're just exacerbating the effects of it. And also, many, many doctors out there, for women who are, I would say, over 40, they want them to get enough calcium in their body. So they tell them to take a Tums every day with calcium. But your body's actually not able to absorb the calcium because you need stomach acid to absorb it, and you're alkalizing the stomach acid. So staying away from those drugs is definitely going to help you improve your gut function, and reducing inflammation in your body. Even though like an Advil is an anti-inflammatory drug, it's not anti-inflammatory for your whole gut. The next thing we want to eliminate is looking at removing inflammatory foods. Now this will be different for everyone. So I'm going to give you the 4 biggest ones, and I noticed a big difference in people. Gluten, soy, dairy, corn. All of these things are extremely inflammatory to your system. And the reason most of them are is because they're so genetically modified and overprocessed these days. The forms you eat them in are so overprocessed that your body doesn't know what to do with them anymore. And we're eating them all day, like 3 times a day, every day. And your body just doesn't have the enzymes to be able to cope with that. And again, everyone's sensitivities will be different. The biggest one I find is wheat. As soon as people stop eating wheat, they notice a huge difference in their health, even within a week. They'll feel better. Their digestion improves, their allergies improve, their joints improve, brain function, their brain fog goes away. And because it does take, I know a lot of people are like, well, I'm not allergic to wheat. I eat it every day. I don't have any immediate reactions. But it takes 72 hours for what's called an IgG response to show up in your body. So you may not even know you're allergic to it. But if you cut it out, you realize how much better you feel without eating it. And I know that for a fact with me for wheat, because it doesn't show up on any kind of blood test that I'm allergic to wheat. As soon as I eat it, my face puffs up, my stomach hurts, my joints hurt. So it's called an IgG response, and most doctors will not test for it. There are some that will do something called an LCAT test, and it does do these types of allergies. So if you've been to a million doctors before, and they've all like, no, the regular scratch test and blood test, and you're still like, there's still something not right, you can ask them to do what's called an LCAT. They may or may not to do them, depending how forward-thinking your doctors are, but it is out there for sure for you to know, and it'll give you a good idea of what your hypersensitivities are to food. But to save you money on getting those tests done, food elimination diet. Just eliminate those foods one at a time, and then slowly, when you go back to eating them, you'll know right away. So save yourself money as well.
So you're a proponent of the LCAT test for food intolerances?
I do like it. I had it done with my son because we had tried everything, literally everything, because he was having congestion all the time, and I'm eliminating everything. And then it turns out, I'll tell you what's interesting with him, it tests like 200 different foods. Turns out he's really sensitive to peaches. And I know peaches, and he loves peaches. He's eating them every day. And what I didn't realize is peaches in his vitamin, his multivitamin I give him, peaches, they're whole food vitamins. Peaches was a big part of it. So I'm giving him something every day that I would have never, it's not on the high list of allergies. So for me, that worked. And we've just now eliminated, he doesn't eat peaches. I changed his multivitamin, things are a lot better. So I think though, if you really want to spend the money, it's a great test to do. It even does foods, but it also does environment as well. It does environmental toxins as well. So it'll tell you what you're severely allergic to, what your mild sensitivity to, and then a very, very mild. And then the very mild would be, and then the okay. So the ones you want to really avoid are the red zone. The ones that are like showing up that you have, like I said, my son, I had no idea peaches, was something that he is hypersensitive to. So it is, but I said, I would start, if you haven't done it before, you haven't done an elimination diet, start with the wheat, the corn, the dairy, the soy. Those are really easy things to eliminate from your diet, and you may notice a big difference right away on those. And if you don't, and you've tried everything else, then look at the LCAT test, for sure.
Yeah, is there a difference between, I was just told that it's now late sensitivity testing?
Well, that's what the LCAT does.
Okay.
The LCAT is a delayed sensitivity, so they actually, in the lab, do it over several days.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what when you get a blood test done, it's an immediate reaction. All it tests is immediate reactions, and those are reactions that, if you eat something, it happens right away. You may need if it's severe, you need an EpiPen for. Those are immediate reactions to things. But the delayed, it's like you have this chronic inflammation that builds up in your body, and you don't even know what it's from, or you may not even realize how much inflammation you have because you feel so bad all the time. And it could be, for me, it was joint pain. I was having so much joint pain all the time. I'm like, what is wrong? As soon as I gave up, not eating wheat at all, it just disappeared. But if I'd gone to the doctor and said that, it probably would have given me some sort of steroid shots and, cortisone, any of those things. But to try and figure it out on your own. What I was gonna say, don't underestimate the power of food for your body. Even if you are slightly sensitive to something, like even having a little bit in something, it will affect your health greatly. And that does mean in the beginning, reading a lot of food labels. But once you know what you can eat, then you're good. Like, wheat's in everything. It's in your body. It's in products you use on your skin. Soy as well. Soy is in all kinds of body creams and everything. So people are very sensitive to it. So the one people don't like to talk about removing from their diet because they don't believe it affects them is sugar. It's one of those things. It is probably one of the biggest causes of inflammation in your body. It depletes your neurotransmitters. So if you're having any sort of brain fog, anxiety, depression, it definitely affects those. And it causes serious mood imbalances, which I'm sure everybody knows how that is when they eat sugar. You eat it, you're on a high right away because it hits your blood system so fast, and then you go down again, and then you eat sugar, and it's a horrible cycle all day long on that. So we kind of talked about it, so how to mitigate that. Well, obviously, don't eat sugar, processed white sugar. That includes like white pasta, white rice, white bread, any of those things. If you're gonna eat carbohydrates, make sure they're whole grain carbohydrates, and they'll have a much slower release. And then combining those carbohydrates with a protein and a fat will also slow down that as well.
What about food?
Fruit? Fruit does have a lot of sugar in it. Yeah, I would just limit, if you're having any kind of mental health issues, I would definitely just limit your fruit to probably 2 pieces per day. And then you can look at the glycemic index, which shows you how quickly the sugar, it affects your blood sugar. So I would just choose fruits that are kind of lower on that. Bananas are a little higher. But again, it depends on how individual you are. Like some people, bananas are great for after you work out, right? So it replaces a lot of other things, your potassium and magnesium and stuff. So, I think it's up to you to figure out which ones work best for you. But if you've eliminated sugar, but you're eating 8 pieces of fruit a day, you're getting a lot of sugar still. So, and sugar, I mean, we're not going to really talk about weight loss today, but sugar does contribute, #1 factor for weight gain, because it increases your insulin so quickly, and then the excess insulin is stored right here as body fat. And that includes fruit in that as well. So the other thing you want to remove are toxins, smoking, alcohol, stress, any kind of stress. Stress is actually toxic to your body. Chemicals, preservatives, heavy metals, food additives, those are all extremely toxic to your body and causes inflammation in your gut, which then causes inflammation in your brain. Bad fats, trans fats, hydrogenated oils. Anything you see, any product you buy has a hydrogenated oil on it, just walk away, because it does cause inflammation. And then, as I think we talked about the artificial colors, definitely if anyone has any of these mental health issues, they're detrimental to your health. And I've actually seen videos of kids who have literally gone from happy child. One incident was a kid, it was happy child. Mother gave her a red velvet cupcake and turned into like this horrible, like, I hate to say it, devil child, it was like a switch turned on. She realized she's allergic to red dye, which also comes from petroleum. So any petroleum products she was highly sensitive to. Once they eliminate those from their diet, the child is like a different person. So don't underestimate food dyes on things. They look pretty, but all natural foods you find at like Whole Foods, Sprouts, even Market Street, you can find them. They all use natural food colorings. Like turmeric is one of them, and annatto. Those are all natural things. Beet juice. So the next thing you want to do, so we've removed all those things. Once we've removed all those from our system, which is a hard task to do and it takes time, you can't do it overnight, is replacing the good. So because you've had such a poor digestive health and you've been exposed to so many toxins out there, there's all the essential things you need for good digestion and good health, for digestion, absorption of your minerals, need to be added back. So, and you don't do these, and you wouldn't want to do these permanently. This is just really to kickstart your system into getting back to a healthy state. And those would be digestive enzymes. Your body has a multitude of digestive enzymes to break down your proteins, your carbs, your fats. So you'd want to take a supplement of digestive enzymes to help kickstart that, to replace the stuff that you really don't have right now. Hydrochloric acid. Most people who have like the acid reflux and stuff think it's because they have too much stomach acid. It's actually because you don't have enough stomach acid. So your body is not breaking down your proteins effectively. So hydrochloric acid is also a supplement you can take. And then bile acids. Bile acids also they usually come with the enzymes, and those things will help break down your fats and help with your gallbladder, liver bile, and break down fats. But again, all those prefaces though, don't start changing or adding supplements. Especially if you're on medication, I would talk to your pharmacist first to see if there's any interactions. Now these are all natural things, but too, you just want to make sure they're not interfering, with what you're taking, especially with things like if you have gallbladder issues and you're taking bile acids, you want to make sure that it's not going to affect anything you're taking, or if you have gallstones. So make sure you talk to your doctor first. So then once you've gotten rid of the bad things, replace some of the functional things you need, then you want to re-inoculate. So you want to basically put back the good stuff. So prebiotics are indigestible food ingredients that stimulate the growth and maintenance of good bacteria. And these foods can be found in leeks, onions, asparagus, artichokes, chicory root, dandelion greens, but all in the raw state. Once you cook something, it takes out all those essential fibers and enzymes. So basically eating a lot of raw things. And then once you do that, once you have those too, and sometimes you can find these in the same supplement, is adding probiotics. The probiotics, I'm sure most people have heard of them. They're live microorganisms that actually help. You're replacing that bacteria that you don't have. This actually adds that good bacteria. You can also do it through food. There's lots of supplements out there, and if you're going to buy a supplement, make sure it's a multi-strain probiotic, meaning that it doesn't just have one strain of, if it's got just acidophilus in it, it's not enough. You want it with multi-strain. So if you're at the Whole Foods or vitamin shop, wherever, you just want to ask for that. And it doesn't really matter, this whole thing, it doesn't really matter if it's refrigerated or not refrigerated. I've done a ton of reading on this, and there's people say both are, one's better, one says the other. The only thing with the refrigerated versions is that if they haven't been stored properly on the way to the store, then they could lose a lot of their effectiveness because they weren't refrigerated on transport. Where the regular shelf-stable ones have been freeze-dried, so they're actually going to be full potency on those. And then other sources would be like fermented foods, yogurt, kefir, matcha, kimchi, tempeh, sauerkraut, and any grass-fed like raw cheese or raw butter too also helps. Some of the better probiotic brands, there's a million out there. You may have one you like. The Culturelle, the Metagenics, the Innate one that Ray carries here is really good. They're all high quality probiotics. Okay. So and then we want to repair your gut as well. So this is providing necessary nutrients to help the gut actually repair itself. So if you have leaky gut, this actually will help repair. So there's an amino acid called L-glutamine that helps actually rejuvenate the gut wall. And you can get that in supplement form as well. The other thing that people are deficient in who have the mental health disorders is zinc. It's extremely, it's often associated with depression, schizophrenia, anxiety, anorexia, hyperactivity. Most people are really deficient in zinc. Now, the only thing is when you start supplementing with zinc, you supplement too long with it, it will create a copper deficiency in your body. So you want to make sure you're not supplementing it for a long, long time. And better yet, the best ways to get it is through your food. So increasing your sources of nuts, seeds, high quality like grass-fed meat, and fish, especially oysters. Those are all really high sources of zinc. Omega-3 fish oils, we kind of just talked about that most people who have any kind of mental health disorders are extremely deficient in their omega-3 fatty acids. And those your body can't produce yourself. And unless you're eating fatty fish every day, 7 days a week, you're not going to get it directly from your food. So you need a high quality omega-3 supplement for that. And by having that, I think we talked about by having the bad gut bacteria, the poor intestinal health, your receptor cells for the omega-3 are less. So you definitely need to do that repair first. You need to repair and do all that so that you're getting so when you're taking the omega-3s, your body's actually absorbing them. And then the vitamins A, C, and E are really good for tissue repair. So even for your gut, it's a good tissue repair. But even if you're having surgery or anything like that, taking these vitamins will actually accelerate that repair too of your tissue. B vitamins are extremely important for your nervous system. And they're one of the first things that are depleted when you're stressed. Is your B vitamins in your system, and they're needed for stress, anxiety, and depression. So a good quality B vitamin. Just make sure it's a whole food vitamin, not something that's synthetic, because then you're just adding more processed foods to your system. And then there's also herbs out there too that can help, that can actually help heal the gut if you're having, if you even have IBS or anything like that. And then that's slippery elm, aloe, and comfrey root. Those are all good herbs as well. So, and then on the repairs, on still repairing your intestinal system, you want to make sure that you have whole unprocessed foods. So anytime you're eating the processed foods, you're just adding inflammation. You're creating inflammation in your body because you're eating things that your body's not doesn't know what to do with. And then good fats should be roughly about 25 to 30% of your diet when you're doing this repair. I mean, good fats being avocados, nuts, coconut oil, those types of things. Drinking lots and lots of pure water. So most people are extremely dehydrated. When I meet with them, they're like, checking off the boxes, how many waters a day, and it's 2 cups of water and 4 cups of coffee. So you definitely want to make sure that you're drinking a ton of water. General rule, half your body weight in ounces of water, but you can't really drink too much water, except before cardio, because that's never good when you drink too much water before cardio. And then adding more high quality protein to your diet. So on the sun, my last slide is, I love this quote. It says, we are increasingly challenging our physiology with ingredients for which we are not genetically prepared, which means that we are putting so much crap into our bodies that our body doesn't know what to do with. All the processed food, our body can't break down, can't assimilate, and we're just creating a host of inflammation in our body. Inflammation is the #1 cause of disease, especially when it comes to, today we're talking about brain function, but it's the #1 cause for cancer as well. Anyway, so that's it. So does anyone have any questions? Anything specific? Yeah.
The hungrier you are, the more prone you are to eat foods that you shouldn't eat. So
Right.
I think if you eliminate exercise,
No, I will tell you,
let's just save money.
what I tell people with that, because I get people every day, all the time telling me, but what I do, like, it's that, I'm starving, it's usually around 2, 3 in the afternoon that I'm just so hungry, right? Because there's a natural dip in cortisol in that time of day. So what I tell people, because working out is definitely what you need to do as well, is if you know that that's a bad time of day for you, a lot of people know what time of day is going to be bad for them, make sure you eat before that. Make sure you eat, probably, I would say, protein-based snack of some sort and eat before that. Because you'll know when you work out. I mean, if you had a good workout day, you're starving all the time. You're really, really hungry. So it's not an option. And you need that for your brain health too. Anyone else have any questions? Or if you have questions after, feel free to chat. But Ray doesn't like that answer. Questions? Okay, great. Well, thanks everyone for coming today. Hope you learned a little bit. And I said, if you have any questions, you can ask me today or email me or message me on Facebook or whichever.